Hello and welcome. We all know that stories are powerful, right? But how often do we really stop and think about how they actually shape our friendships, our adventures, and even the way people see us? Well, today we're going to dive into this amazing, charming world where stories aren't just something you read, they're something you live.
And our journey really starts with this simple, super cozy idea. For this one little dragon named Franklin, stories are absolutely everything. They're his comfort, they're his best friends, and in a way, they're literally the walls of his home. So here's the game plan for today. We're going to start in a dragon's very lonely library, then we'll see how stories can build bridges. After that, we're literally going to jump into an adventure inside a book, and then finally, we'll talk about how you can bring these dragons to life yourself.
All right, so let's set the scene. Just try to imagine, for a second, a life where every single adventure you have, every little piece of knowledge you've got, comes only from the pages of a book.
This is Franklin, and his cave? It is a book lover's absolute dream. His front door is literally a bookcase that keeps the wind out, and his only audience for story time at night is a swarm of little fireflies. I mean, he is completely surrounded by stories, but he's also completely alone. And just look at what he's reading. This is not your typical dragon fare, knights in castles. Franklin is basically an expert on, well, everything. Kung fu, gymnastics, space, electricity, you name it. His books are his entire universe, giving him all this knowledge, but he has no one to share it with.
And that's really the heart of the problem for him. He wants so badly to connect with someone, to share all these amazing stories with someone other than the bats in his cave. But, every time he goes near the village, the townspeople, they just see a scary dragon, not a potential friend.
Yeah, these are the words that he hears. Not hello, not hey, what are you reading, but just screams of fear. The villagers are totally judging the book by its cover, so to speak. So Franklin just goes back to his cave, feeling more lonely than ever.
But then, everything changes. And this is where we see the real magic of stories, not just as something to pass the time, but as this incredibly powerful tool for connection.
And wow, this slide just lays it all out, doesn't it? On the left, you've got the villagers' reaction, just pure fear. But on the right, you have Luna. And because her world is already jam-packed with stories, she doesn't see a monster. No way. She sees a character that walked straight out of her favorite book.
And just like that, a friendship is born. Luna, this awesome girl with bright red hair, finds her kindred spirit. It's not just that they both love stories, they feel like they are literally made of them. And it's that shared identity that sparks this instant, super powerful bond.
So, what do two friends who are made of stories do? Well, of course, they decide to share that love with the entire world in the most amazing way possible. With a little help from some mice and an owl, they turn Franklin himself into a flying library, strapping on bookshelves and a comfy sofa to create this wonderfully wonky flying bookshop.
And this is such a huge moment. When they land their bookshop in the village, Luna doesn't even hesitate. She stands right up for her friend and she replaces the villager's story of a scary monster with the true story of a kind and clever dragon. She's changing their whole perspective, one word at a time.
Okay, so for Franklin and Luna, reading about adventure is one thing, but actually living it, that's a whole other story. Their friendship is about to take them right off the pages and deep into the plot.
The next chapter of their story kicks off on a really big day. It's Franklin's 66th birthday. The whole village is planning this giant surprise party, but Luna needs a way to distract him. Her plan? A little trip to a very mysterious and very magical bookshop.
So inside this dusty old shop, their friend Neil, who's a tortoise, gets a little too curious about this strange, locked book. He ends up breaking the lock. The cover pops open, and poof, he disappears right inside the pages. And what happens next is just this incredible moment of pure bravery and friendship. There is zero hesitation. Franklin and Luna know they have to rescue Neil, so they just grab hands and dive headfirst into the story, totally ready to face whatever they find inside. And what they find in there is a fairy tale world with some pretty hilarious updates. They run into the three little pigs who are building a hotel. They meet a princess who's just so tired, and a wolf who tells them he's a vegetarian now and does yoga. It's a world that's familiar but also delightfully weird. So after they find Neil, who's actually winning a race against a hare, a friendly giant warns them, the book is closing. They have to get out or they'll be trapped forever. In this mad dash, they fly out just as the pages are shutting, but here's the crazy part. They bring all their new fairy tale friends with them right into the real world.
Okay, so that whole adventure brings us to our final part. We've seen how stories can be read and even lived in, but now let's talk about how they can be created. How can we take a little inspiration from Franklin and bring our own stories to life?
You know, the art in these books has this amazing textured feel to it. That's because it's like a collage. And a collage is really just a fancy word for making art by gluing cut-up pieces of paper onto another piece of paper. It's super accessible, it's fun, and it's the perfect way to build a character, layer by layer.
And the best part is, you probably have everything you need to do this right now. Some thicker paper or cardboard, some scraps from magazines or colored paper, glue, and a pair of scissors. That is it. You don't need anything fancy to start making cool stuff.
And the process is so simple and fun. You just start with a basic dragon shape. Then you cut up your paper scraps into little scale-like pieces. You start gluing them inside the lines, overlapping them so you get that cool, scaly texture. Once it's all dry, you can add the fun details. Wings, a tail, maybe some fiery breath, whatever your story needs.
And this really brings us completely full circle. We went from a lonely dragon in a cave to a flying librarian surrounded by friends from both the real world and the world of fairy tales. This quote just says it all. The best things in life are the stories we share and the friends we get to share them with.
So, as we wrap this up, the big question isn't just about what you're going to read next, but maybe what you'll create. Whether it's with paper and glue or just with your own words and imagination. What stories are out there, just waiting for you to bring them to life?